I am creating this video to give you a little bit of an idea of what I do to obtain the records in the way that I do for Florida tax auction and eventually tax auction surplus for asset recovery companies. But Florida tax auction is for people who are interested in buying tax deeds in Florida. And I just provide the records in a more organized way with information that you need before the tax deed auction. So the very first thing I do, I have an access database that I created, and what I do with this is I track every auction date for all 67 counties that are going to be happening, and I update the database once a week. I go through every county and grab every auction date, so it's always up to date. And then I have some queries and forms that I've created so that when I click on weekly record collection, and currently I'll be collecting for week 18. Right now, we are physically, as I'm making this video, we're physically in week number 15, but I provide records 3 weeks out because you do need time to research, etc. So I set this report up to show me 3 weeks from now, which is week 18, and here I have it. And then I just print that up and keep it next to me as I go through each of these counties and I collect the records for that auction date. So I then have another page that I use for myself that has links to all the counties pages that I will need. And I will open up a blank Excel sheet so that I can quickly run through the gathering of the records. So now that I have Excel open, what I'm going to do is just go to the first one, which is Volusia for May 1st. So I'm going to scroll down to Volusia. And this first icon brings me to their auction website. And I'll just log in. And then I will go to Quick Search. I choose Tax Deed for the auction type. Deselect everything except for pre-sale and the auction date that I want, which is May 1st. May 1st to May 1st, because I only want that date, because it's the only one in that week for Volusia County. And then click Search Report. And then there is an option to download the CSV or print it, but I just copy and paste right into Excel. And I always start on the second column because in the first column I'm going to put the county, since I'm going to be adding other counties to this. And that comes into a big play when I show you what I do with the spreadsheet later. And then for the next county, I just paste the record starting here and put the county number, and so on until I gather all of the auction records for the dates in week 18. And now I've gone through all of the eight counties that have online auctions in week 18, and you can see here I have them all on this spreadsheet. They are exactly how I copied and pasted them in. And it's not attractive, so now I do a little bit of formatting, and I'm just going to quickly go through this. I just highlight all the cells, remove the border, remove any fill, make all the font color black. I click bold and then unbold just to make sure nothing is left bolded, and then I like to unwrap these cells so that they aren't the text isn't wrapping around. So I just right click, format cells and alignment, take out the wrap text, take out the merging of the cells, and I like to align all the text in the middle of the cell. And then if you click up here and highlight all the cells and then come here in between any of the two columns where your mouse changes and double click, it will stretch out the cells to as far as whatever the text is in there. And then I can also see the font. There's different sizes, and there are still some hyperlinks and underlines. So I just choose the font, choose the same size for all of them, And then anywhere in here, when it's all highlighted, I right click and choose remove hyperlinks. Okay, and now I can get rid of a couple of things like certificate holder. Some counties give it, some don't, but it doesn't matter. You as a tax deed buyer, you don't need to know who the certificate holder is. So I just delete that column. And then here is the sale date, and here is the date that Real Tax Deed added it to their website. So we don't need the add date. I get rid of that. The status, well, we only chose the ones that were pre-auction, so these are going to be accepting bids. And we do not need that column, so I go ahead and delete. Actually, I'm just going to delete the text out of there because I want that column, because I like to put my parcel ID next to my case number, which is your tax deed number. Now, for the address, it separates into the address, city, and zip. Sometimes, some counties will put Florida FL into it, and some do not. So what I like to do is combine all of these. So I'm going to put a formula into this cell that will combine all three of these with a space in between. And then I want to copy this formula and bring it, paste it all the way down. Now I can get rid of these three columns because all the addresses here, but I can't get rid of them right now since these cells are still dependent. With using a formula, they're dependent that these are here. If you look and I delete this, you can see how it changes this column. So what I have to do is copy all of these, and then I paste them into Notepad, and then I highlight them all and copy those, and what that did was strip out that formula. So I copied them off of Notepad and paste them here. Now you can see this is the actual text and not dependent on these columns anymore. So now I can get rid of them. And the address stays. And in my folders on my computer, I'm going to create a new folder with this week name. And then I have two Excel tables that I created as templates. And I'm going to paste them into that newly created folder. And then I rename them to the week. Now I will open up week 18, not the map one. And here is my master spreadsheet. Anywhere, any of the columns that you see that are not yellow, they either have a formula or a VLOOKUP of some sort that will produce some information that I need based on what I enter into the yellow columns. So if I switch back over to my spreadsheet of the records I gathered, the first thing I'm going to do is copy the counties. Now when I paste them into this column, you'll see a lot of information will show up, including the direct links to that county's property appraiser, GIS mapping, clerk of court, tax collector, and the official records. So as soon as I paste in here, you see all of that showed up. And those are based on the list of links that I have on my lookups page, which just covers every county and every link that you could possibly need. And it just brings over the information based on what I put into the county column. So then I switch back over and I'm going to copy the sale date column. Pasting the date in does nothing except tell you what the date is, but it does not make any of the other columns, cells, generate any information. And then I'm going to do the opening bid and the assessed value. That will go here, start and assessed. Actually, I'm just going to do start right now because I want to show you something else. So I'll do the start, and that does not cause too much to happen yet. But what I'm going to show you, and just quickly, these two rows are the only ones I have all of my formulas and VLOOKUPs in right now. Everything here below, they aren't showing up yet because I haven't copied the formulas down, which I will do later. But next, I'm going to copy over the assessed value. And then I want you to watch here in Homestead what happens. Okay, for these two regular records, it didn't change, and I'm going to explain why. When a property, when a property is homestead, they will add half of the assessed value to the starting bid. However, in my experience, I believe that anything that is assessed at 10,000 or lower is probably not a house, and therefore it would not have a homestead on it. So being that this and this both are under $10,000, these are still saying probably not a homestead because the value is too low for a house. But then you're free to check the property appraiser's website. But let me show you what happens here in the homestead cell if the assessed value is over 10,000. So I'm just going to say, pretend like this assessed value is $20,000. Now the reason this changed to no, it is not homestead, is because the formula I have in here knows that this starting bid cannot possibly include half of the assessed value, because half of the assessed value would be 10,000, so this starting bid would be over $10,000. I know that this $1595.10 is only the property taxes that are due. But let's say the start value was more than half of the assessed. What if the start value was $15,000? Then watch what happens in the homestead. Now, with my formulas, it's saying that the homestead, it is possible. From the records that I gathered from the county, they don't tell me if it was homestead or not. A couple of counties do. I believe Broward does. But this one does not. It doesn't tell me. So based on these figures, it's possible that this property is homestead. So you would want to check the property appraiser's website to find out if it is or not. But now I'm just going to back up a couple of steps to get these figures back to where they were. Now, for the purposes of people who buy tax deeds, the end, overbid, and surplus columns here are not for you. After I collect records for Florida Tax Auction, I actually watch the auctions during the week, and I supply the ending bid, and that gives us an amount of surplus that asset recovery companies can go after and try to help the previous owner collect. But that's a whole different story for the tax deed buyers. You don't need these three columns, and they are not included on the records of Florida Tax Auction. So now I need to copy in the tax deed column from my other spreadsheet, which is case number. That is the tax deed number. And then I need the parcel and property address copied over. And since these two columns are right next to each other, what I'm going to do here is bring the parcel column over so I can just copy them both at once and paste them in. There. Now I have to get all the formulas in. So what I'm going to do is just copy and paste the formulas down. And now I have all the records in. And one more column that I want to talk about are the mapping notes, because this shows you what I do for the map. Actually, before I discuss that, I do want to talk about, and if anyone who works with Excel they're familiar with, they will put scientific notations in different circumstances. For the parcel number, and it happens with the tax deed column sometimes. For the parcel, what I'm going to do is just first stretch the column out, and then I'm going to highlight the whole column, right click, format cells, and choose number, and make sure the decimal places says 0. And this turns it back into the correct parcel number format. Okay, so now I want to talk about the mapping notes. There is a formula in here, in these cells, that will put some information based on what is in the property address. So for instance, this property address is complete. It has the address and the city and the zip code. So that is able to be mapped. It will be mapped. But then what happens with vacant lots or addresses that don't have a house number? These are not going to be mapped properly on Google. You are going to have to look these up by parcel number on the GIS mapping website for that county. So what I want to do to cause the mapping notes to show up correctly, what I want to do first is sort this spreadsheet by property address. Now, for the ones that don't have a complete address and I know that won't be mapped, what I'm going to do is just copy over exactly what's in column A. And I can see right here, first of all, these need to have just the county name in them. And then when I paste these in, watch what happens to the mapping notes. It says the address is not shown on county tax deed listings. Use the GIS mapping. And you can search by parcel number. Now, just because they addresses do start out correctly here and they go in numerical order, I got to look towards the bottom because there's going to be a lot that will say other things like vacant. So starting about right here where the numbers end, and I can see these are not addressed, I'm going to come over here because I'm going to be copying these counties over. But then I look and scroll down and can see them all. So I'm going to copy those, paste them over here. Now I'm going to resort them by county. Now my list is complete. It's ready to go onto tables on Florida Tax Auction, and it's ready to be set up to be mapped properly. So the first thing I want to do is this page, the main page, contains all the counties. But what I want is a separate sheet for each of the counties so that when I map them, they show up in the layers. And that way you can look at each county separately. You can hide a county or show all of them or whatever you want. So obviously it would take a lot of work to copy and paste all these records over into their own onto their own tab, but I have a Visual Basic macro that does this for me, and it's pretty extensive. But if I run this, and it takes just a moment to go through all of them, then let's see, Charlotte with the first one, 5394. If you look down here at my tabs, I need to scroll over to Charlotte. They're in reverse alphabetical order. Charlotte, And here it is. All the records that say Charlotte County from that first page are on Charlotte, and so forth. Each one is on their own tab. And now that I've done that, each county needs to be saved as a comma separated value, a CSV, so that I can import it into Google Maps. And once again, that would take a long time to do each county separately. So I have another macro that does that. And here it is. So I'm just going to run that. And it asks me where I want to save those CSVs. And I want to go into that week's records. Create a new folder. And now you can see it's working. What it's doing is making a CSV for all 67 of the counties. Well, as you know, there were not 67 auctions. They didn't all have auctions. So now that it's complete, if I go into week 18 and the CSVs, I can see they're all created. But if I sort by size, the ones that say 1 kilobyte are not counties that had any records. So I'm going to just delete all the ones that I know don't have any records. And then it also created a CSV for some of my custom tabs that are not counties. So I'm going to get rid of those. So now I'm just left with the 8 counties that did have auctions for, the ones that I collected the records for. And now I'm ready to import them into Google, the Google Maps. And now I'm ready to create the map that is going to have a layer from each of the counties records that I created. So on Google Maps, I'm going to choose Your Places, Maps, Create a Map, and then I'm naming the map with the week, and then I'm going to import a layer for each one of those counties. So I just click Import, and I can drag the CSV over and drop it here. Now I want to tell it to map the property address, and for the marker names I'm going to choose tax deed. And then for this layer, I'm just going to rename it and take away that CSV. Now I'm going to choose Add a Layer, Import, and do the next one. Now I'm going to do this for all of the counties so that all 8 of the counties are showing up as a layer. Now sometimes you might come across one that Google couldn't show on the map, and they give you a chance here to see what is wrong and fix it. So you just click on Open Data Table. And it's this first one, so I'm going to go to the Property field. And what likely is going on is because it has the suite number or unit number 109-E. So a simple fix is you can just type in unit before that, and it cleared it up. So it is now on the map. And another issue that may come up, when I imported Orange County, it threw one way over here in California, which I'm sure they're thinking it's Orange County, California. So what I can do here is click on the three dots, open data table, and go to the property address. Instead of just Orange County, I need to add Florida. You can do it to all three of these. And now, as you can see, it took them away from California and put them over back in Florida. And now that I'm done putting in all the county layers, the next thing I'm going to do is set the default view. So what the map looks like when you first open it. And I'll just kind of get all the properties into view. And then I set default view. And then I am ready to share the map. And I make it so that it is shared with specific people only. And when access is requested, I add your email address here, and then you would be able to access the map. And here is how the map would look as it's shared to you, with each of the counties having their own layer, and underneath, if you click on the down arrow, it'll show you all the tax deeds for Hernando County, which is this one. And if you click on one of them, it'll highlight it on the map and bring up the information to the left. Or you can search and look by the map, which I'll click this one here, and it will pull up the tax deed number, the county, the sale date, the starting bid, the assessed amount, if it's homestead. This is a link to the tax deed documents where you can also see the O&E report that will give you any liens or encumbrances that may be on the property. And then the mapping notes are below. This one says address given, which it is. The full address is there, so that is the place marker for that address. And here is the parcel number, and you can look that up on the property appraiser website for more information. You can also look it up on their GIS mapping website, so you can map the actual parcel and get more information on it. And then here is a link to this county's clerk of court, tax collector, and official records. And if you are a member of Florida Tax Auction, this link will bring you right to the page for this county, which will give you a lot more information. You'll have all the links to the websites that you need up at the top, auction and tax deed research statistics and information, how to gather records for that county and view upcoming auction dates, and then a video on how to research the liens, information and links on how to actually participate in the tax deed auction, and then you will have the table of records for each of the counties. This one is Hernando for week 16. These are the records with links to the O&E reports, property appraiser, and official records website. And that's it. That's what I go through every week to get these properties on the website and on the map.